MTN SME Hub. Link to growth. Link to success. Link to the ultimate resource for business advice and insights.
Welcome back to the Big Small Business Show. In studio with us today, we've got Darlene Menzies. She's CEO of FinFind, and we're talking about all things finance, the money that we all can't get our hands on. But we were talking before about building up our credit rating or credit score, so to speak. And that leads me to talking about funding readinesses, because I feel it's also, and I think you've intimated, it's also the responsibility of the entrepreneur to be funding ready.
Yeah.
It's just, you can't just say, I can't get money. You have to speak bank, so to speak. You have to speak their language and deliver the information to them in a way that they can consume it. It's not just a one-way street. So let's talk about funding readiness.
Absolutely. So let's start into that with the credit score. A lot of business owners don't realize that because there's no business credit data in the country, the lenders are looking at their personal credit score as the owner, as a proxy for the business. So they'll go and, if you apply for funding as the director or the owner, they will go and look at your personal credit score. Now, the problem is most business owners have bad or poor credit scores because they have try to get credit in their personal capacity because they couldn't get business credit, and then they pay their suppliers and staff first, so they'll end up not being able to pay their own personal credit back, etc. So that's one place you can start from a funding readiness point of view. It sounds strange, but if you have a strong personal credit score, your chances of getting funding for your business go up tremendously.
So it's just to pause there, if I've got a bad one, how do I develop a good one?
Great question again. So it's the big thing is not communicate. So let's say you have some retail accounts or something that you've in the past haven't repaid. If you contact any of the credit bureaus and ask them to help you, there's actually it's a very easy process of, if it's a particular lender or somebody that you've got a retail account with, they teach you how to go to them, set up a plan. And as long as you've got a plan in place that is required repayment, then you can actually improve your credit score. So it's the case is not to hide away and hope, well, one day when I've got money, I'll sort it out. Sort it out today. Go and get the necessary restoration processes in place, because they actually say that within your credit score, that you were in a certain place, but now you're on a plan forward. Still speaking about the owner, most business owners don't pay themselves a regular salary on the same day of the month. Now, the first thing a lender looks at is that, and you'll think, well, that's quite strange. Problem is, if you're turning over less than $1 million, you're seen as a consumer, and so they look at your business and your personal account. So if you don't have money in your business to pay everything, pay yourself first. Next day, transfer it back into the business, pay the rest of your expenses, so that when the bank looks, you've got a regular monthly income. There's just a couple of things, and that's just on the owner from a readiness point of view.
That's great advice.
Yeah, create a data room. Have your SIPSI docs and all of the different things that are required from lenders. In the report, we show there's 38 different documents that typically are asked of you as a small business. They're not all big things like management accounts. There's things that if you got together, and those things you're often asked for if you're trying to be procurement ready or otherwise. So get online, get a data room, name your folders, and things that need to be updated more regularly, like proof of address, etc. Get someone in your office to keep that updated. Because when you need funding, it's normally at a critical hour and you don't have time to get that together. So there are some practical steps.
We're going to talk about the report in the next segment, but financial literacy. Right? We've spoken about now funding ready, funding ready. But there's also what I see often with entrepreneurs is that they use the wrong type of finance for the wrong type of thing. They mismatch the type of finance. For example, they might take long-term finance for short-term needs or vice versa. And then that becomes a whole, in the moment, it's a new problem. In the moment, it's great, but then it creates a new problem. So let's just talk about financial literacy and who's doing what in terms of educating entrepreneurs around financial literacy.
Sure. So I think where my business was originally birthed out of was a study that was done that for 5 years by an overseas donor funder who said, what are the systemic challenges to access to funding? Funding literacy was the first, funding readiness was the second, and the next one was the providers and seekers can't find each other. So what we realized is that there's over 300 funders and there's over 600 finance products. Now, even if if you knew who they all were, you wouldn't have the algorithm in your brain to know which one could fund best. So that's actually what we do in FinFind for free. You go in, we've got all the funders, and you can find which is the best funder and finance product for your specific need. But typically when you're going through the process, the journey of applying for funding, there's terminology and different things that you don't understand. So funding literacy, again, is key. Again, that is provided, we provide that, but many others do. National Finance Literacy Advocacy is a great organization on the ground that's doing work. But ultimately, what you're wanting to have a look at, what are the common challenges? Go, like on our website, we say that, what if I have a bad credit record? What if I don't have collateral? All of those questions, get them answered. Who are the funders? What are the different types of funding? And what are the different funding needs? And that starts to get you on an education road. But ultimately, if you can use fintech and machine learning that can actually match you, a white woman-owned business in KZN in this industry sector, turning over this much, looking for that much. As you put that into the machine, it filters out who won't fund you and leaves who will. So I think you've got to find the right solutions.
You touched on collateral. We've got a minute left before we take a break. Collateral is often used as the excuse, I don't have the collateral, that everyone who wants to lend me money requires some level of collateral, or proven cash flows. Those are generally the two areas.
Yeah.
So what happens if I'm a startup, I don't have either, I don't have proven cash flows, and I don't have collateral. So what do I do? Is there an answer to that question?
So I think family and friends are the answer, obviously, and we know that. I mean, I always say to anybody starting a business, within your own network, whether it be if you're a youngster and you've come through a school environment and you've stayed at friends' homes whose parents are individually, privately wealthy, whatever the case may be, if someone knows that you're a hard worker, you're someone who's going to go after things, you're persevering, your character shows that, and you've got a good idea, the chances of being able to get what you need to get you on the road from your own personal network or people who can actually back you are far more likely. But there is government funding out there, and there is opportunity, and as you know, through ESD programs and other incubator programs that will give you some of that seed capital. But ultimately, it's kind of pulling yourself up from your bootstraps and working. It's the hardest thing to do is ask someone you know for money. It's much easier to ask someone who you don't know. Yeah. But it creates an accountability that if you really are seriously about paying that money back, that's what's going to happen.
Okay, we're going to take a break now. When we come back, we're going to talk about this report that you have in front of us, and we're going to share some of the findings and also guide you to where you can get more educated on financing your business.
MTN SME Hub, link to business success.